My brother and I have always been intrigued by the unexplainable. Like many, we're fascinated with stories of the supernatural, fringe science, and modern-day mysteries.
Though we've seen no first-hand proof of its existence, our minds remain open to the possibility.
Unsatisfied with the so-called evidence on television and the internet, we are choosing to take matters into our own hands and conduct our own interviews and research.
Now we're on a quest to speak with as many people as we can and hear the stories of these events from those who have lived them.
No Hollywood effects or exaggerations, and no hidden agenda. We invite you to listen and decide what and who you believe.
We are the Brothers Mysterium.
Hello. Welcome to the Brothers Mysterium. I am Tommy. He is Eric.
Heyo.
And we are the Brothers Mysterium, and we want to thank you for listening to our paranormal, supernatural podcast of mystery. If you like the show, give us a like on Facebook, facebook.com/The Brothers Mysterium. Rate and review us on your podcast provider, and feel free to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Mysterium Bros. And if you have an email you want to send to us, you have a story, you have a message, you have something you want to write, you can send it to us at thebrothersmysterium@gmail.com. And writing messages are going to be today's topic: automatic writing, psychography, also psychic scribing, it's known as. And this is another one of those things where I was hanging out with a friend of mine, and she mentioned to me automatic writing. And I was kind of like, I've never heard of that. And she explained that it's when you sit down with paper, pen, a pencil.
A writing implement.
Yes, you kind of clear your mind and you just let your hand go and you try to kind of channel a spirit and see where it takes you. And it's very interesting. It's said to be produced by spiritual, occult, or subconscious agents rather than by your conscious intention. So it's not the writer, it's not you, it's one of these other entities, be it something spiritual, be it a loved one who's passed on, or some other higher divine being. But people do it, and they say it's successful. It reminds me a lot of Ouija boards without the board, which I like, because I've always said, if a spirit is able to move a Ouija board just because you ask it to, how come it can't move other objects and spell out things in other ways? And along those lines, we've sort of danced around this topic before, as we know, in our School Spirits episode dealing with college ghosts. Chantel had a story, and she said she was able to stop her haunting in her dorm room by writing a note to the ghost and leaving it on her computer.
Right.
So I was told, for whatever reason, you want to write a letter to the ghost directly, because ghosts apparently are not trying to scare an individual. They're trying to communicate, which, you always hear, the afterlife, they're trying to get through with their message.
Tommy and I looked pretty hard to find more information about communicating with ghosts through letters, but we really didn't find much to suggest that this is a common practice. However, Tommy eventually found a forum that mentions the idea. One member posted that she was inspired to write a letter to a ghost after reading a book by an author named Terry Lynn Taylor. The book is called Messengers of Light, and in it, she apparently describes writing letters to angels. So this person who made this post just adapted it to a ghost or a spirit. Again, beyond this, it's a relatively unknown form of spirit communication.
So I wrote a very candid letter to my ghost, and I can't remember why, but I was told to put the letter on my computer, because there's something about that maybe like the vortex of technology and the internet, I don't know.
This idea most likely relates to the same theory some have regarding EVPs and a ghost's ability to manipulate electronic devices.
So I did that, went to bed, was very, very nervous because I didn't know if it was going to work. I felt like a crazy person, but I wanted it to go away. So at that point, I was willing to do anything. So this letter was on my computer that night. Nothing happened. Poster didn't fall off. Everything was cool. And from that point on, everything was fine.
And actually, in the Poltergeist episode with your friend Chrissy, you wrote a note of good intention that I mocked you for, and then you hid it under your pillow. Well, I guess you didn't hide it. You placed it under your pillow,
I did.
hoping that that letter would somehow reach out to whatever poltergeist spirit entity was affecting them and terrorizing them.
I even remember trying something of my own, because like I said, Christine had been in touch with me a lot during this, where I wrote a letter.
To the spirit?
Kind of. Yeah, it was almost like a letter of intention to like help me like focus and see if like, you know, I didn't really have a clear idea of what I was doing, but it was the best I could think of at the time.
So wait, explain this to me and the listeners. So wait, you went to the house?
I'd never been there. No.
So
she called me,
and she said, she's
like, she had no idea. She's like, what do I do? And
so then you wrote a letter,
and I put it under my pillow.
So you wrote a letter to the spirit in their house?
No, I wrote a letter saying that their house is safe and it's this and that. And it was more to just like reaffirm good intention in my mind for them. You know what I'm saying?
So
it's very like
what? Okay, so hold on. So she calls you and she says, "Listen, we're being attacked by ghosts. We have bruises. Crazy stuff's happening.
Yeah.
What do we do?" So you wrote a letter to yourself, put it under your pillow, and went to bed while they were being tormented in this house.
And obviously, it didn't do.
What the hell? What the hell? Wait, what? Tell me what the letter said.
It was just like you know,
But how did it start? Dear Santa? You used the tooth fairy method?
Yeah.
What did the letter say exactly?
Not
exactly. Not exactly.
It wasn't even like addressed to anyone. It just said like, you know, Christine and Jen are safe in the house. Everything's fine. Stuff like that. And it was more to just
positive vibes.
Right. And it didn't work. Like I said, I did have $20 under my pillow the next day.
But all your teeth were missing.
Yeah.
So there is something to be said with this idea of spirits writing, coming through in writing, automatic writing. Perhaps the most famous case of this that a lot of people, listeners might know about is...
Houdini?
No.
Damn.
Patience Worth.
Abe Lincoln?
No. Patience Worth was allegedly a spirit contacted by a woman named Pearl Lenore Curran. And she was a prolific writer, writing several novels, poetry, prose. And Pearl claimed that it was all delivered to her through channeling the spirit of Patience Worth. So that's probably the most famous example I know of. Do you know of a Houdini example, or you were just throwing it out there because it's usually Houdini?
I do. Okay, so the Houdini story goes back to his relationship with Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. And this is kind of what really actually broke Houdini's belief in this kind of thing, because originally he was really looking for answers regarding spiritualism and contact with the dead, and he wasn't trying to debunk it at first. He was kind of really into the idea.
And wasn't he a real mama's boy?
Oh, yes, definitely.
So when she passed away, and his good friend, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, was like, I think we can get in touch with her. He was all about it. Right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was totally about it. And his mom, he was really, really close to his mom. Like, most of the money he made in his career went to his mom, bought her, like, a brownstone, a house, like, loved his mom. Passed out when he found out she had died, like, on the spot. So he goes over to meet with Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and his wife, and his wife, Arthur Conan Doyle's wife, contacts Houdini's mother and passes on a message through automatic writing. And I believe it begins with her making a cross on the top of the page. And I believe she may have passed on a Christmas message to Harry Houdini, and then wrote out about 15 pages in English. Houdini immediately became skeptical. The cross on the page and the Christmas message, because his mother was Jewish. And his entire family was Jewish. Also, 15 pages written out in very well-written grammatical English was very suspicious, because his mother barely spoke English. So how...
Two pretty big factors.
Right. So how come suddenly she, is all about Christianity and speaking English? So that's kind of what really dampened Harry Houdini's spirits, if I can use a pun, on the whole spiritualism thing.
Well played.
And, changed the course of his career, if you will, because from that point on, he was completely against all that stuff and began debunking it quite thoroughly, I would say.
Yeah, and I think people could probably argue that, like, well, maybe the way her spirit was coming across and the way it was being transferred through Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's wife is why it was suddenly now in English, because that's what she understood. That was that language. But suddenly she's a Merry Christmas Catholic,
Right.
cheerful person when she was a cheerful Jewish person. Makes no sense. And I also thought there was one other detail where, like, she said, like, like, Harry, I hope you feel better or something, but she never called him Harry. She had a pet name for him.
His real name was Eric.
Or something like that. Or
Eric was how Harry came about.
Right. I think it was something like there was like a nickname or one other thing too, where he was like, my mother would never call me this, or she signed it like Love Mom, but she
Right.
had
I
a
don't
pet name
know
or something. But
I read this in his book. Harry Houdini actually wrote a book called A Magician Among the Spirits, and it's all includes these stories.
Oh, you're going to put that on the Eric Mysterium reading recommendation list?
Absolutely. It's actually, I was reading the biography of Harry Houdini, which is already on there, and they mentioned this book in it. So immediately I went out and bought that book and started reading it. So
It's always good to read a book.
yeah, especially when it's firsthand from someone like Harry Houdini.
Yeah.
It's interesting to read about them, but it's better to read, something that's from them.
Which is, we love firsthand accounts and experiences. It's what this show is kind of centered around. Two other notable automatic writers we should mention are the Brazilian medium Francisco Chico Xavier. Born in 1910, he's one of the most prolific automatic writers in history, having produced about 100,000 pages of work. Xavier began his automatic writing in primary school, where he won an essay contest with an essay he claimed came from a spirit. Though he never continued his education, Xavier produced books of a scientific and literary quality that appeared to be beyond his abilities. He was a popular figure in Brazil, appearing on talk shows in the 1960s and 70s, and donated the income from his books and any donations he received to charity. Xavier never made an attempt to produce any scientific proof of his abilities. Supporters claim that the size of his body of work, the diverse subject matter, and different styles are all evidence enough of Xavier's authenticity. During a period of 60 years, he wrote up to 450 books and several thousand letters, claiming to have used automatic writing. And then after his death, dozens of books were issued based on old letters and manuscripts, which gradually became published, bringing his total number of books up to 496. You may recognize the name Chico Xavier and some of his work from his connection with the Spiritism movement in Brazil. Another one of the best-known automatic writers was Helene Smith, who used the pseudonym of Catherine Elise Mueller, a medium born around 1863 in Geneva, Switzerland. Smith never worked as a paid medium, but held numerous seances for friends and admirers. In addition to claims of past lives as a Hindu princess and Marie Antoinette, Smith produced automatic writing in Arabic, and what she claimed were the languages of Mars and Uranus, which she then translated into French. Theodore Flournoy, a professor of psychology at the University of Geneva, studied Smith's mediumistic abilities and determined that the so-called Martian alphabet was simply the subconscious construction of an imaginative woman. Other investigators supported the claim that Smith's alphabet was indeed extraterrestrial. Smith was a popular figure with the Surrealists in the early 20th century. I'd also like to point out here that we included Patience Worth on our list of automatic writers, even though her communications to Pearl came through a Ouija board and not pen to paper. Due to the fact that her communications were not just one-off messages, but full-on books and manuscripts, many consider her to fall under the umbrella of automatic writing. And for today's show, at least, we'll include her in that category as well. And going along the idea of, is this real, is this not real, Harry Houdini would say it is not. It's very easy to just say that maybe these people think that they're channeling a spirit, they're kind of fooling themselves. As I said, I feel like it's very connected with Ouija boards, and you're moving something to spell out messages and write messages, and that brings into effect the very controversial ideomotor response or ideomotor reflex, which is how it's debunked that your subconscious, your muscles are what's moving the planchette, in this case, moving the pencil, moving the pen. If you're at a computer, you could probably do this too. It's what's typing. So while you're sitting there thinking that, your mind is clear, like if your eyes are closed and you're doing stuff, you could still easily write. It's probably harder to move a planchette and land on what you want as opposed to, writing or typing if you've memorized your home row keys.
Right.
Or obviously if you're writing, you can kind of feel where you're writing.
I can type with my eyes closed.
Right. So that debate will probably rage on forever, but something to consider. As we always come in impartial, we like to look at both sides. If you believe it, if you don't, that's sort of what we're working with. So let's jump into our first experience.
The Brothers. Mysterium.
My name is Krista. I'm from Southern Ontario, Canada, and I'm 22 years old. My first experience with automatic writing happened in March of 2016. I was about to turn 22 years old. I had heard about automatic writing from a book that I had been reading on spirit guides and how to contact them. During the week prior to this experience, my grandfather had passed away from lymphoma, and I decided to take what I had learned from this book and use automatic writing in hopes of contacting him. While I was trying automatic writing, my hand felt very heavy, like someone else's hand was placed on top of it, guiding it. Another sensation that I remember feeling was my entire body felt like there were pins and needles going through it, kind of like a tingling sensation, I guess you could say. At first I didn't even notice that my hand was moving, and it kind of startled me. After I realized what was happening, I tried to calm myself down so I didn't break the trance-like state, I guess, that I was in. And after I started to feel a bit nervous, it almost felt like a presence was with me, letting me know that it was okay. When I was finished with my automatic writing session, I looked at my notebook, and there, written in my notebook, was a 22. I guess I should kind of give some background. I was about to turn 22 right before after my grandfather passed away. He passed away, I believe, on March 6th or 5th, and my birthday was March 8th. And I could recognize the handwriting as his. When I make my twos, I don't put loops into them. And when I looked at this 22 written in the notebook, there were loops in the twos, and I just remember from the birthday cards he used to give me and stuff like that what his handwriting looked like. And I took this 22 as him telling me to not worry about him and that he was okay, and to try and enjoy my upcoming birthday, which it was pretty hard to do after him passing away, but that made me feel quite a bit better, and I felt more at peace, and I was able to kind of accept him passing away a little bit easier. I tried to rationalize what happened, and I truly do believe that it was my grandfather coming through in automatic writing. I don't think it was my subconscious. I don't see an actual explanation for it. And another reason I believe it was my grandfather who came through to me is just that gut feeling that you get when you know something's true or you know something's happened. I guess kind of just this feeling that this is what happened and this is why. And I trust that feeling. I trust that intuition. I always trust my gut feeling and intuition.
The Brothers. Mysterium.
So that was Krista, and I know I've been saying it quite a bit recently, but love the international flavor now as the show is expanding. It started out with us interviewing our coworkers, family, and friends. Now we're getting people from all different countries, different continents, so it's nice to have Canada represented. We want to thank Krista for sharing. She had quite the experience where she's attempting automatic writing, and she described it very vividly. You know, her hand gets heavy, felt like somebody else's hand was placed on top of it. She starts tingling, feeling that sensation of pins and needles. And what's interesting is she said she didn't even notice at first that her hand was moving and writing something.
Right.
And then when she does look down, she sees number 22. And what's interesting to me is that from what I gathered and people I spoke with and researched, usually, as you had said, In the intro to this, it's like 15 pages of perfect English. Usually I find it to be more of full sentences, straight up message. It's not a beware, it's not a fragment. It seems like the norm would be that it's sort of a long message, like a letter you would receive from somebody if they were alive. This case, it was just a 22, and from that, it was on Krista to interpret it how she saw it, which she said she took that as, since he passed just before she was going to turn 22, it was kind of her grandfather's way of saying, like
happy birthday.
Right, I'm still with you. I didn't see you turn 22, but you're going to turn 22, and she said it helped her not worry so much that he was gone, not be as upset, as sad. It kind of gave her a feeling of being at peace and accepting the fact that he had passed on, and she was sort of able to enjoy her life more and pick up the pieces. So it's interesting that he wrote a number, not letters.
Was it okay? So it wasn't 22 written out as a word. It was 22.
It was 22.
Okay.
It's interesting that that's all there was. It wasn't hey, I'm sorry I'm not going to be there for your birthday, but you got to remember I lived a great life and you're going to live a great life and you're young and you should have fun. It wasn't anything like that. So in this case, the message was really up to her to interpret it.
Right, and I think that's also the problem with this story, if you will, is like I think
it's too open to interpretation. It's too vague of a message.
Right, it is, and yeah, like it's she wrote it, and she seems to be someone who believes in the supernatural. She said she did, so she's gonna find meaning for this. Now I have another automatic writing story that also deals with Harry Houdini that is a good example of this also.
Oh, well, please share it with us.
So Harry Houdini one time was attempting automatic writing with Arthur Conan Doyle, and Harry Houdini was kind of asking him, like, all right, what do I do? Tell me how I do this. He's holding a pencil and all that, and Arthur Conan Doyle just tells him, like, it'll just come to you. So Harry Houdini suddenly writes Powell on the piece of paper. And Sir Arthur Conan Doyle jumps back and is like, Powell, my God, that's the name of someone that was in the spiritualist community that he used to go out and do spiritualist presentations with, who had just died, and now Powell was coming through Houdini, and this is the message he was receiving. Now Houdini writes in his book, I consciously wrote the word Powell because I was thinking of an American magician named Eugene Powell, who I had been writing a lot of letters back and forth with. So it's just the first thing that came to my mind because I had been writing Powell in a lot of my letters. So it's just a coincidence. But Arthur Conan Doyle gives it meaning.
Right.
So I think...
And a different meaning than what it was meant to be.
Exactly. And it was completely arbitrary to, Harry Houdini just pick that name because he'd been writing a lot, Yeah,
the power of Powell.
Right. Exactly. The Powell of power.
So I guess it's... Yeah, I guess in that way, it's almost like if you showed 10 people the same thing, let's say 22 in this case.
Right. What would it mean to each of them?
Right.
It depends on their beliefs. To some people, it would mean absolutely nothing. To other people, they could say it's a date.
February 2nd was my birthday.
Right.
It's been 22 days since I last saw my loved one.
Right. Or if you spin it upside down, does it become a 55? You know what I mean? Like you can...
That's true. You can always manipulate things. That's one reason I don't like numbers.
It's the vagueness of it.
Yeah, and you can manipulate, especially numbers, to just be so many different things.
Now, that being said, it sounds mean to say that I think this is, not a real instance of automatic writing, especially when she says, this gave her this meaning and this closure and things like that. I can't take that away. I think that definitely has meaning for someone. But at the same time, I don't think it's legitimately her grandpa communicating with her.
Fair enough. And at any rate, as we've said many times on the show, definitely the feeling of closure and being at peace and being able to move on is real. So regardless what anybody thinks or says, at least she got that from it. It is important to also note the coincidence of the number 22 coming right before her 22nd birthday, as well as the handwriting not being her own. Krista even claims she recognized the way the twos were looped as being in her grandfather's penmanship and not her own. We'll discuss handwriting changes more after hearing our next experience. But, out of curiosity, I did ask Krista if she had tried automatic writing again and gotten any other more in-depth messages from her grandfather or any other spirits.
I have yet to try automatic writing again. Being a college student, I can get kind of busy, and it requires, for me at least, a lot of time and patience and preparation. And you have to have a clear mind and be able to focus, and these past few months have just been pretty hectic. So I would like to try it again, and I plan to try it again.
My friend Brooke also mentioned to me that she had a friend who was really good at automatic writing.
My name is Laura Dunn.
So I passed along some questions to hear about Laura's thoughts and experiences on the subject.
I started doing automatic writing in probably about 1997. I had a friend who was doing automatic writing, and she asked me if I wanted to try, and so I went ahead, and it was very easy for me. So the first time I tried, I felt like I was channeling someone's energy, the answers. So somebody would ask me questions and it would just very easily flow. So after I had the first experience doing automatic writing, anytime that I picked up a pen, I would automatically start doing automatic writing. I could tell if I was channeling different people, the handwriting would change. And so one time I was channeling a woman and the handwriting was a certain way, very neat, very like that old-fashioned, really pretty handwriting. And then I felt like I was channeling like a male energy, and the letters were all capital letters in handwriting, not in cursive. And so not only like the energy would come through me, but also the different handwriting would come through. I could feel what was being written without knowing what I was writing. And so in my head, I could feel the words, or I knew the words or the answers to the questions that were being asked without realizing what was being written on the paper. The longer that I did automatic writing, I felt like I was able just to channel an answer without needing to have the paper there, without writing it down for somebody. But I actually knew the answer that was being given to me, and I could just tell them as opposed to writing it on a piece of paper. I think automatic writing is a good way to get yourself open, to expose yourself to your intuitions, and to start yourself channeling energy, different spiritual energy. The consciousnesses or the spirits that would be open for to do the automatic writing would not always be like high level individuals or high level spirits. And so I had a hard time feeling like I was getting good information or good spirits to interact with when I was doing automatic writing a lot. It seemed like they were always just trying to make jokes or just kind of wasting time. It wasn't, giving people a lot of useful information. So I don't know if meditating more and working with, certain spirits would have given me a higher level of contact. And so I'm not exactly sure how people are able to attract like a higher level spirit. I think the way to attract and to get better and be more successful at doing automatic writing is just through practice. Probably meditating for a while before you do it, and just frequency, doing a little bit, a couple times a week, and practicing being open to the spirits, will help you increase your ability to do automatic writing. There's some people who have an affinity for it where it's easier for them than other people. But anybody can learn how to do it.
So that was Laura. Want to thank her for sharing her experiences, her knowledge of automatic writing. And she seemed like she was pretty good at it. She said once she was dialed in, she was channeling these spirits. It was really flowing. She could basically do it anytime, pretty quickly, pick it up. Her tip, or what she said really helped her, was practice and frequency, doing it a few times a day, a couple times a week. The more practice makes perfect.
And again, the meditation aspect of it, like getting into the zone.
Yeah, that headspace.
Right, which...
She said a lot of things that I found pretty fascinating. One was how she said that she did it so much that it evolved to the point where it almost went from automatic writing to just straight up mediumship.
To automatic writing.
Exactly. Semi-automatic, where she no longer had to even write stuff. Like somebody would sit down with her, ask her a question, and she knew it, and she would just talk to them instead of writing it.
She bypassed it.
So she sort of practiced enough and became comfortable enough and was able to channel smoothly enough that she didn't even need to use the pen as the medium to get the messages. So that was pretty fascinating.
She became the medium.
She did. Another thing she said that I found intriguing was that she had a hard time connecting to like high level spirits or spirits with real worth to them, with what they were saying, held weight. She said it was a lot of kind of joking around and time wasting, which she found kind of frustrating, which is interesting.
But that's an interesting thought, because that suggests to me more of a realistic description, because like,
sure,
you know, if instantly she had all this otherworldly information where she tries writing books about it and things like that, like the old Sylvia Browne method, to me that then reeks of suspicion. But the fact that, you know, she sits down to do some automatic writing and it says like poop or something, you know.
Well, right. And even like we've said many times with mediums, to me it's almost sometimes too convenient. If it's like, I really want to speak to my mom, and you come down there like, well, your mom's here, and it's like, oh, well, no, perfect. You know, it's like,
well, my mom's still alive, so
well, that's true.
I can speak to her anytime I want.
But you know what I mean? It's almost sometimes too easy, too good. So yeah, as you said, it is definitely realistic and believable that she's trying to connect and answer these questions and give people life advice and messages from the beyond, and you just get some jerks that are joking around, wasting time, goofing off, not giving anything of true value.
Which it could also be maybe like, I mean, I don't know if the accuracy is like, maybe they are saying something as a value, but like the frequency is not coming through all the way. The message is garbled.
That could definitely be. You never know. Lost in translation.
Right.
And then one thing she said to me that was a key thing that my ears perked up was she said that her own handwriting would even change.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
So if it was sort of a male spirit or something, it would be kind of what you would expect of male handwriting, maybe a little blocky, a little heavy-handed. She said she was channeling a woman at one point. It was like kind of this old-fashioned script and stuff, which...
Right. Now, to me, that suggests that this person is literally controlling her hand. And I'm going to go out and say that I think if this is real, there has to be a way that it works.
Well, there's two ways I can think of.
Okay, there's two different ways you can think of that would be mutually exclusive?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I'm saying though.
Well,
like, there has to be...
Here's what I was thinking. When you said it was almost as if someone was controlling her hand, it reminded me of our first story where Krista said she felt a heavy weight on her hand and her hand felt guided. So say there's an invisible ghost, you know, leaning over you, taking your hand and moving it. The other thing would be what's known as a walk-in, which we've discussed in the past, where a spirit will actually kind of step into your body, a temporary possession.
Right.
And then they're literally controlling your physical hand and writing for you.
But then to me, that negates like the Houdini story where it's like, oh, your mother wrote in perfect English because that's how Lady Doyle was receiving the message and she was writing it down.
Right, unless that they were just being fraudulent.
Well, which I believe they were, and I think Houdini knew that too.
Yes.
So I think like it can't be all possibilities, which some people try and do that. They're like, well, it could be it works like this sometimes, with other people it works like this, and with other people it works like this. It's like, no, there has to be, if we're going to say these things actually exist, they have to play by some kind of rules. Otherwise, it's too ambiguous, and the hunt would forever just be this cloudy mess.
Right. Well, in order to figure that out, we need to get some answers. So answers we did seek, and I spoke with Joanne Feather.
My name is Joanne Feather. I am the owner of Aurora Lifestyle, which is focused on intuitive coaching, spiritual guidance, angel readings, mediumships, angel therapy. It all involves the work of spirit. So I classify mediumship involving the communication with our loved ones that have crossed over, as well as angels, as well as the ascended masters.
So Joanne, in your own words, could you kind of describe for our listeners what is automatic writing?
Automatic writing is a form of what some would call channeling or using spirit to convey or communicate a message through writing. It involves taking pen to paper for me. Some people use their computer, but I feel if you're really channeling spirit and speaking with spirit and using them to, you being a conduit for speaking with them, that you put pen to paper and you simply just write down the messages that you're given to the point where you are in a meditative state as writing not your own thoughts, not coming from your own ego. It is all coming from spirit from above and relaying messages that they wish us to have.
Now, for you, do you think it's ghosts, as in the spirits of former humans that are coming through during automatic writing, or is it something more otherworldly, ancient spirits, angels, our higher self, all the above? What do you think is coming through and delivering these messages?
When I speak of spirits, it can be what some people would consider ghosts of former humans coming through. But as I said, I encompass it all into angels, guides, ascended masters, the ascended masters being Jesus Christ, Mother Teresa, many of the Hindu gods such as Ganesh, are all amongst us every day, helping guide us and work on our spiritual journey and path, working with us. So when I say spirit, it includes all of the above. I would also consider it being our higher selves, our own true inner spirit, relaying messages, to get into deeper discussion in regards to the realms or various dimensions of the space-time continuum. It is believed our higher selves are able to communicate with us from the future, to relay messages, as well as from our past to allow us to heal from traumas and hurts.
And do you believe that just anyone is able to use automatic writing, or is it more those people who have the gifts of psychic abilities and mediumship?
Is anyone able to use automatic writing? I believe so. I don't believe being a psychic or a medium is a special gift or talent. I believe that we all have the ability, if we choose to learn, if we choose to trust, if we choose to know and believe. I think people such as myself might appear to be gifted because we have perhaps grown at an accelerated pace. Myself, I have been a medium since the young age. I would say 3 or 4. I was seeing spirit. And by seeing spirit, I would say what people would classify as ghosts. I was able to communicate with them, see them, feel them, using all my clairs, the clairvoyance, claircognizance, clairsentience, to be able to get messages. And at a young age, it was more difficult to deliver versus today, in which I can deliver those messages. So I appreciate that people consider it, that I'm gifted or I'm blessed, but I truly do know and feel everybody has the power to tap into their own energy and work with it and work with the energy around us, because really that is what spirit is. That is what everything that's around us is energy, and it's awaiting to be lit up and invoked and transformed. And I would say my curiosity got to me enough that is what I've chosen to do in my path.
And when attempting automatic writing, do you feel like women maybe have a higher success rate than men?
Women may have a higher success rate than men, and I'm simply saying this due to observation. I think women have an innate ability to listen to their gut instinct. They always talk about women's intuition. And our chemistries are very different, men and women, although we want to think they are the same. There are subtle differences that can result in bigger differences. But again, everybody is so unique, so I don't like to classify people into those boxes. But working with men and women, there's a different type of energy that comes with them and a different vibration. So I'm feeling perhaps, because for me to communicate with spirit, I have to get elevated to a higher vibrational state, and spirit has to come down to a lower vibrational state in order for that to happen. So the two of us have to work together, and I'm trusting that we all are able to achieve that, as I said before. So I don't really want to rule out men at having a high success, because I've met some wonderful male mediums that are very good at what they do. I think it really boils down again to the trust, know, and believe, and having that state of empathy and desire to want to do it.
And what works best when someone is first attempting automatic writing? Like, do you have any tips you could give a first timer?
When first attempting automatic writing for me, it was a matter of letting go and not interfering with my own thoughts, not interfering with my own hand at what it was doing, not interfering what was coming to me, and very much what happens when I do medium reading or a spiritual reading and providing guidance to my clients. I have to let go of my own higher self and my own ego and allow that message to come and truly, truly relax. For first timers, my best recommendation is meditation. I think some people will discredit it, although it is getting a lot of more news and encouraging people to do it more. But I really think meditative practices, even if it's 5-10 minutes, to really open up your mind and get you into a state of relaxation, provides you with the ability to tune in to the energies and spirits around you. My other recommendation is to operate in good faith and with positive intention. I only work in love and light energy. I don't move into the darker energies. They both exist. They both are around us. And we have choices in which we want to work with. One of my biggest aspects of work is that I have connected and worked with the Christ consciousness energy, which comes down through me, through the work and the meditation and the studies I've done. I have been able to harvest that and really use it to advantages, not only for my work, but also in works of manifestation, seeing daily miracles, truly putting energy to work and asking for things to come and attracting things to me. And I think by working in that positive light and choosing the ascended master that resonates most with you is of the utmost importance. And again, operating in that love and light. And I don't mean to cast a religious spin on it at all. We all have higher sources that we can tune into, and some people elect not to. But I think if you're in the right frame of mind and the right consciousness to do good and to operate in love is the most important thing.
And a lot of people say Ouija boards are dangerous and dark and evil and you should stay away from them. Do you think automatic writing can be dangerous in that same way?
Yes, automatic writing can be dangerous if not done in the right light. Some have claimed it can be as powerful as a Ouija board, and I can say it can for those that are electing to operate it in that way. If you're not operating with the correct shields and barriers to the negative energy, and by that I mean surrounding yourself in that white light, or calling upon Archangel Michael to protect you during a session. It's all in a matter of the prayers and intentions that you set before doing a session. So I always am clear with my clients and customers that that is how I operate, and that is how the messages will be received.
And what do you say to those people who claim that there is no higher being, no spirit, no angel, but it's just your own subconscious mind, and you're kind of tricking yourself into believing this message came from somewhere else when in reality you wrote it?
Can the subconscious mind come into it? That's when doubt comes into it. And that's why I always state, you've got to have faith. You've got to trust it and you've got to know it. You can't ever doubt or think that your subconscious mind is coming into play or that your ego's coming into play and that I'm writing this because it's actually my own thoughts, or I'm writing this because I think this is what the person needs to hear. You need to operate again, turning back to that love energy and truly wanting to deliver a message for that person. What do they need to know? What do they need to know right now? They might be wanting a particular message, and most do. Most come wanting to hear from someone in particular. Most come wanting to hear some exact words. And I tell those people, you're going to receive what you need to know. It will be loving, and it will be caring, and it will come in pure and utter loving kindness, compassion, energy. However, it might not be what you expect, and it might not be exactly who you're hoping to hear from. But I can guarantee that they all leave happy and all leave thinking, yeah, that is exactly what I needed to hear right now.
And now, in detail, can you kind of describe the experience of automatic writing? And, anything special you do to prepare? What does it feel like as it's happening? Is it scary? Is it calming? What's the feeling afterwards? Could you just kind of break that down for us?
So the experience of automatic writing, for me, and I can only speak to myself, I haven't met a lot of automatic writers. I think we all keep it hidden because going back to the whole Ouija board sentiment, that some people feel that you've become possessed or that an evil spirit is taking over and making you write what you're writing. And to avoid that, and when I have done automatic writing sessions for customers, I explain to them that I have said a prayer. I always pray and meditate before any session, whether it be automatic writing, whether it be energy work, whether it be a coaching session. I always say a prayer and a meditation that can be anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, depending on the feel for that day. I also prepare by opening up my chakras. And for those of you that don't know about that, I encourage you to do some research in that, but I'll go to the main ones that should be concerned about would be my crown chakra, to open that up, which is at the top of your head, to receive messages from above, as well as my heart chakra. I completely ensure that it is clean and flushed out before I begin any work, which is all part of the energy work that I do with people and some of the spiritual guidance that I provide is that energy transformation of clearing out heart spaces, mind spaces, harmonizing your heart and your mind. So to get, quite literally my channel, my cable, if you will, to the universe open and clear for any messages that are coming through. I also ensure and prepare that I've got my pen and paper, and it's got to be the right pen and paper for me and for a lot of people because of our highly sensitive nature. Just the feel of that pen and the texture of the paper is actually quite important for the sensory perception for myself. While doing the session, how does it feel? Again, it feels like a very meditative, almost trance-like state. I will write down the words in order as they come to me. In most occurrences, it is a spirit speaking to me, and I am writing those words down. Other times, spirit chooses to communicate by showing you visions. So visions in your third eye come to me and relay a message, and I will ask, what does that mean? What does that mean? Can you explain further? To get real clarification around something, because I want to give people concise, clear answers. People are coming to me because they want clarity, because they seek guidance, because they want more information. And I feel it's my honor and duty, and I have the integrity with my work that is what I want to give them. It's a calming effect that comes over me as I do it. As I said, it feels very meditative and trance-like. It's a complete release and letting go. It can take over your body and your arm as you're doing the writing, as I've said, just to allow that sense of freedom. And at first it can be scary because that fear and doubt comes in as to, what is this that I'm doing? Is this really me doing this, or is this someone else? But I've been working with spirit for so long now that I think it's absolutely wonderful, and it's so loving and so kind and so generous. And to interact with them, as I said, is such an honor, and I cherish it. I have never had a bad experience, even though going into sometimes being scared. It's just like swimming in a way. Before you dive in, you're going to be scared. And with practice and over time, and then when you receive the validation from a customer, or even the overall feeling that you get when you're being poured over, it's like an anointing almost, with the energy that I work in with the Christ consciousness energy. It is a full pouring, and I describe it as an anointing oil, and simply just like the religious practice of pouring oil on people as an anointment, that is what it's like, and it's being completely imparted with this loving joy and grace and glory, and love that you can feel is tangible, and glory that you can feel is tangible. You can feel it in your hands and in your body, and it comes into your heart. And for me, that is the best feeling in the world.
And are there any really significant stories or messages you received through automatic writing that kind of stick out to you as special?
The messages that I've given that I've cherished the most are those really loving messages. For people that are seeking answers from loved ones, that they want to know that their loved one is okay, that they're doing just fine on the other side. And I've been doing this for, let me say, I would say over 30 years, and I've never had anyone tell me that they're not doing okay. And then you wonder, is this kind of cliche and is this getting to be too much? But it's the finer details, such as smelling pine trees and seeing timber being cut down as a sign that I was speaking to someone's father who happened to be a lumberjack, who would have smelled like pine trees and who was cutting down timber. And then some funnier stories of me seeing, a cute, simple white cat, but that white cat meant everything to this one girl's grandmother. And the fact that I brought up the cat, and me, if I let my ego get in the way, would think, oh, okay, it's just a cat. But that cat meant everything, and that confirmed to her that her grandmother was here, her grandmother was in the room, her grandmother was speaking to her through me, and providing her the validation of the messages that she needed to hear that day and answering the questions she needed answers to. And then there's some stories I have of being completely overtaken by the Christ consciousness energy. And those are times that I choose to get into that prayer meditative state and channel some messages for the world and things that I think collectively as a planet we need to hear. And through that, I have been able to get to know more and more of the archangels and really opened up to, how may I be of service? And being given extremely strong messages. And there's a piece I'm actually working on right now. I would be in my 3rd chapter on a method of energy healing that I am channeling through automatic writing from Archangel Raphael. And I would think that so many people might think, wow, this lady's crazy, because I too can be skeptical and think, wow, these people are crazy. But then it happens to you, and it's almost as if the universe is challenging me because I thought and was the skeptic at one time. And even through my lifetime, I will be a skeptic on things because I want the universe to show me otherwise. And that's when it comes in for me. And so I'm working on this program of a new energy modality. And it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And it came about with a simple asking, how may I be of service? And Archangel Raphael wanted this to be downloaded to the planet because the planet is in need right now. It's in need of a lot of us to rise up and make some changes in how things operate. And that will begin with these powerful energies and with a lot of empaths and people even wanting to make a small step of wanting to work with spirit, energy, angels, and doing a little piece. Getting back to some of our grassroots of service to each other and the planet, and in time completely realigning a lot of our political and viewpoints and religious viewpoints that are no longer working for us, changing systems that are no longer working for us, changing belief systems that are so archaic, no longer working for us. And I'm blessed to be a part of it, and I'm looking forward to working with more people that are open to it and want to come and learn more. I've had that. I've had clients come and just want to learn more. Just as you're asking these questions, they want answers to the same sorts of questions. And what can they do? And I'll show them some tips and techniques. I am planning, and I'm hoping for this year, but I do have a lot going on. But this year I'm hoping to start a group of like-minded individuals, people that are interested to learn some of those techniques and begin a training program so that people themselves can be using these tools at home to better use their intuition, to tap into their own spiritual guidance. And, you know, as my business logo is, helping you discover the lifestyle you desire, I truly feel that that's going to come by listening to what our heart's desire is and what it is our spirit wants and what it is our spirit seeks and what it is the universe is needing from us. So automatic writing is just a small portion of what it is I do. And I truly appreciate you coming to me and asking me for my opinion and expert advice, if that's what you want to call it. And again, I welcome anybody's questions. It's better to know about it, and I'd like to spread the knowledge about it, even if it's not doing a session, spreading some knowledge about it and the word on operating in the love and light energy. It's great. So amazing. So thank you again, and I wish you all the best. I love what you're doing. And thank you again.
And we want to thank Joanne Feather for taking the time and answering our questions. If you want to get in touch with Joanne, you have questions of your own, you want to book a session with her, you can do so at her website, auroralifestyle.com, or you can reach out to her on Twitter at Miss J Feather. That's MISS_J_Feather.
The brothers Mysterium.
To me, it's always a weird thing when this kind of thing is joined with religion.
Yeah.
Like saying like the world is all energy, but then Jesus is like a part of you know what I mean? Like it's, and she talked about like the white light of Christ consciousness.
Right.
To me, there's like it's like grouping too many things together to the point where I can't make sense of it.
Yeah, and the only reason I don't like it, which I brought up probably several times, is whenever somebody's like, I had a demon, there was a poltergeist situation, I was possessed, they turn to God save me, prayer, Jesus expel the demon, Jesus save me, the power of Christ compels you, leave this boy alone. And then it's always, to me, then the question of like, well, which God? You said Jesus. Does this mean the Catholic religion is true if it's able to ward off spirits?
Well, I told you my defense for that, right?
Right, which I guess would then play into this. And for those of you who haven't heard that, what you had said was it's not who you're praying to or what you're praying to. It's that feeling of faith and belief and that strength of conviction and energy.
That's what drives the demons out.
So would that apply in this maybe? If it's not, maybe she's using the word, the white light of Christ, but maybe it's just positive energy in general.
Could be.
Are we getting too caught up in semantics?
Could be. It could be. Yeah, but that, like, I don't. Maybe not. I don't know. But like to me, like automatic writing and spirit communication to me is a very unchristian-like idea. Like, you're not supposed to contact the dead in Christianity. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel like anytime religion comes into it, it kind of muddies the waters.
Right. Like, I'm sure Mother Teresa, who she mentioned, wouldn't be cool. Like, if she said to Mother Teresa, like, hey, like, I think about you when I'm contacting dead people through automatic writing. Like, Mother Teresa would probably be horrified by a thought like that.
She might be. I don't know.
Let's get her on. Get her on the automatic writing, too.
Yeah, we got to automatic write her response. Well, Joanne did say a lot of things that were things I had not considered, did not think about. First thing that she said, which no one else had mentioned, including us, was that it doesn't have to necessarily be a spirit. It could always potentially be your higher self, and that is you delivering messages from you.
Is that,
be it your divine inner spirit, or she even said it could be you in the future, it could be you from the past,
or your subconscious,
where you were.
I don't know. Maybe I'm in one of those skeptical moods again.
It could be, but it did remind me of Laura saying she never got higher spirits. She was just kind of getting these spirits that were goofing off. So the fact that she said she was trying to contact higher spirits, and then Joanne said it could be your own higher self, just an interesting thing they both sort of touched on. It's good to know, as Joanne stated when asked, because I always wonder, like with mediums, can anybody be a medium? Some people say yes. Some people say no, you're born with it.
Right.
With this, she said that she believes anyone can do it.
Yeah, you can kind of cultivate these skills.
Right. And it's similar to sort of Ouija boarding, as I've said many times, where this is the type of thing where if you sit down and you're patient and you practice and you're open to it, you potentially could do it.
It's funny when you phrase it like that, Ouija boarding. Sounds like a form of torture.
Oh, like waterboarding?
Indeed.
Not as fun as like snowboarding. You guys want to go Ouija boarding later and get some gnarly messages?
Yeah.
I guess not.
Yeah.
Probably 80 to 90% of the experiences we get come from women.
Right. Yeah. She
and
did point
she
that
had
out.
said that, she thinks, well, she doesn't think, but it's in her experience, women are more successful at automatic writing. She did not say men can't do it or they're not as good or whatever, but she did talk about women's intuition and it's a different energy that comes from women, which is true.
Right.
Our two experiences in this episode, besides Joanne, who obviously is a woman, Laura and Krista, both women.
Mrs. Arthur Conan Doyle,
his wife was doing it. Right. So, but that was just something to note.
Also, there's that scene in the a movie we've definitely talked about before, The Others, where that's how in that final scene. If you haven't seen the movie, spoiler alert. Yeah,
we should have a spoiler alert sound go on right now.
The Brothers Mysterium. Spoiler alert.
But in the final scene where she's the old woman who turns out to be a medium is contacting the dead family that doesn't know they're dead, she is writing down messages and she has someone next to her who is literally picking up the pieces of paper as she's writing them and reading them.
Why are you crying, children? What happened in this room? What did your mother do to you?
Something about a pillow.
Is that how she killed you? With a pillow?
She didn't kill us.
Children, if you're dead, why do you remain in this house?
We're not dead.
Why do you remain in this house?
We're not dead. We're not dead. We're not dead. We're not dead.
Why do you remain in this house?
We're not dead.
We are not dead. We are not dead.
We're not dead. We're not dead. We're not dead. We're not dead. We're not dead.
And for those of you who want to try automatic writing, some of the tips that Joanne gave was, she said a few times, just kind of trust, know, believe. You have to let go, give up control of your mind, clear your mind. She said almost enter like a meditative state, relax yourself, give up your physical body as well. Let your hand hang free. Don't obviously just flop it down. Don't lock it up. Just let it chill so that if there is someone there, something there to take control of it. She said, which I thought was interesting, that the pen and paper can actually have an impact on your success depending on how attuned you are to the sensory world, but it could be important, so make sure it's a pen and paper you're comfortable with. And if you're lucky, you'll enter that sort of relaxed, clear-headed mind and enter that trance state and kind of channel a spirit, which we ourselves shall attempt. And if you want to see how our automatic writing experiences go, you can hop on over to our YouTube page at youtube.com/thebrothersmysterium. We will post the video with whatever happens as we dabble into the art of automatic writing.
Right. And we will also, for a limited time, be accepting physical letters from fans, but only if they're written by ghosts through them.
Would they be coming through us or ghosts through the fans?
I want people to do automatic writing and then send us that as fan mail.
Okay, I'll allow that.
No.
If you email us at thebrothersmysterium@gmail.com and inquire, we will give you our mailing address.
So automatic writing, I guess we won't have a verdict. Not that we always have a verdict, nor have to, until we try it ourselves. Although we could try it ourselves, but there are also professionals who offer this as a service, right?
I'm sure there are, yes. Well, but I also encourage you, the listener, to try it yourself. Because the good thing is you don't need a Ouija board. And here's a funny thing. People are so afraid of Ouija boards. They're so taboo. They're evil. I don't want a Ouija board in my house. Everybody has pen and paper in their house. If you can connect with the dead through that, how come that's not taboo?
Right.
Or maybe it is. Do you think people would be afraid to sit down in a quiet space and relax their mind and try automatic writing?
Maybe.
It seems less scary, maybe because it's not as occulty, not as
nobody makes movies about that kind of stuff. Yeah, or
right. Well, I guess because it's kind of lame to just have a pen and paper on your lap as opposed to you set up the board with the creepy old-looking letter and a planchette is mysterious and spooky. That maybe it just doesn't have that aura around it to make it scary. But
no.
At any rate, I suggest you, the listener, take 5, 10, 15 minutes, sit down with a pen and paper, and just give it a shot. And if you have success, let us know about it.
Word.
The spoiler alert movie clip you heard comes from the 2001 film The Others, produced by Canal, Cruz Wagner Productions, and Las Producciones de la Escorpión, and distributed by Warner Soch Films, Dimension Films, Mars Distribution, and Lucky Red. Our theme song comes from the band The Never Grin, and you could buy official Brothers Mysterium t-shirts and attire at fightgiant.com. And as our loyal listeners know, we are always looking for stories and experiences that you have had. So whether it's automatic writing or something unrelated, we'd love to hear about it if you're down to share it. You can hit us up at thebrothersmysterium@gmail.com, on Twitter at Mysterium Bros, as well as Instagram at Mysterium Bros, Facebook.com/thebrothersmysterium, www.thebrothersmysterium.com. And if you would do us a solid one more time and rate and review the show if you have not yet done so, we'd appreciate it just as much as we appreciate you listening to our show. Until next time.